Hello and welcome to Strange Journeys Encounters. What are we dealing with? Part 2. I turned and drew my gun while pointing my light at a fallen tree, and there it stood. Everything went into slow motion. This 6-footish tall thing, with what seemed to me at the time was the face of a wolf, but much too large to be a wolf or a coyote. It was roughly as tall as I am at 6 feet. As the light hit it, it paused, looked at me, growled, and then charged at me. I fired 8 shots in quick succession before it barreled into me, knocking me flat. Rather than follow through on the attack, it kept trucking and disappeared into the cornfield. I got up and left the rest of my stuff. Came back the next day to find a farmer, a couple of sheriff's deputies, and a game warden. The farmer had sheep, and a couple had been killed the night before, so he had been driving around setting up trail cams and stumbled onto my stuff and a weird trail of smashed corn and some strange prints on the ground. And then he had called the game warden. I told him about what I saw and was told that it was probably a bear. But the tracks were distinctly not bear tracks. So I don't believe it. Was it a bear or a Wendigo or something else? You want to talk about that today? Let's get started.
Do you want to take it with you ghost host Tom and ghost guy Tim and the executive team Andrea, Ben, Dagny, Donnie, Lewis, Lynn, Selina and Tom. Are you ready? Here we go.
And welcome back to Strange Journeys. I'm Tom Rouse, your ghost host, and that right there is Selina, one of the ETs. And
Hello.
we were talking about it before we went on the air. It seems like she's the only ET showing up here lately, but I'm so glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Like I mentioned, the ETs have lives. This is all something we do on the side. This is not a paying gig for any of us. We do it because we enjoy it, and if life gets in the way, then hey, life gets in the way. There have been times that I couldn't be on it, and Tim has covered for me at different times. So we go on anyway because we enjoy doing this kind of stuff. But remember, we provide these shows first and foremost for you, the watchers, for your entertainment. We are not by any means and do not claim to be scholars or experts in any of the topics we choose to cover. We're simply enthusiasts and storytellers who have fun with these topics while doing our best to respect individual beliefs. Please remember, this show is live and nothing is rehearsed or edited out later. What you see is what you get. And remember, you can support us at Patreon. I started to say PayPal first, but Patreon. That's our main source of income. PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App. And of course, Patreon is a monthly commitment. If you can do that for us, we certainly appreciate and love it. I need to get over there and update our Patreon profile. But PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App are just like tips. It's like tip jar. When I play out live, got a tip jar sitting down there, and people can drop coins or cash. The bigger the bills, the more exciting we play. So if you want a really awesome show, give us $100 tip on PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App. We'll figure out something. Anyway, and the links are down below in the description, so look for that. You can see how to help us out there. And if you are watching on YouTube, you know what to do.
Click that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Like and subscribe to all these videos that Papa Tom made. Hit that notification bell up. My work here is done now.
Yes, his work is done. He did his job. So now you can do yours. Like, subscribe, sign up for notifications. Hey, and share the videos. If you like something, please share it. And remember that in the next few days, this very show will be available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Pandora, and iHeartRadio. been wanting to do a poll in Strange Friends to see where people get this show, and I can't get to do it. But and because those are mostly audio only, if you've been watching the show for a while, you may have noticed we don't use a lot of pictures anymore, and that's why. Because most of these, especially Google Podcast and or an iHeart, are audio only. So we try to be a little more descriptive in what we're saying and doing, and don't use as many pictures. I know the intro video and the YouTube video, you'll only hear the audio, but you'll figure it out. You know what's going on. And of course, remember to check out our merch page, Strange Stuff Live. See it there? And we've done something new. I'm still going to get all this work out for it, not running over everything. But anyway, E.T. Dagny and E.T. Andrea have made some specific contributions to the merch site, and you'll see some of Andrea's there, where she's playing off the Stranger Things motif. And then with Dagny, she's done her Mothman.
Mothman.
Check that out. Her Mothman art is now on a shirt. And her Pukwudgie, you can get it in a cap. I think you can get it in a shirt too. Let's see. Yeah, there's the Pukwudgie shirt. You can get her original artwork on a Pukwudgie, on a shirt. There's Pukwudgie. And I don't know if we can get a good view of this. Let's see if we can get a better view. There we go. You can get the Mothman on a coffee mug. Isn't that cool?
I like that.
That is
I love that movie.
Yes. Let's see. We got we got Pukwudgie on a cup too. So you can get your Pukwudgie or Mothman. Oh, I love this one. This was the first one we did, the Mothman bucket hat. And it's embroidered. Isn't that so cool?
I like that. It's awesome.
Yes. Her artwork is awesome. And then we just did a new one. Where did I put that? Let me go back to the main page. I just put a new design up yesterday or the other day. Gotta get that fixed, whatever that is. Click here for more strange stuff. Oh yeah, I see strange people. Do you see strange people?
Yes, I do.
So you can get that in this beanie and the cap, and in the bucket hat. That's pretty cool. I see strange people. And the hoodie. Let's see. Yeah, the hoodie even got stuff on the back. It says "I see strange people." And then on the front, you get our eyeballs. Cool stuff. So check us out there, and get you some strange stuff. So, anyway, last show, 30 years later. The first thing we did was highlight a couple of haunted attractions coming up this month, because we're at the first. Coming up this month, the Trail of Terror in Hurley, Mississippi, and the Eerie Acres here in Sims, Alabama. So go back and get the info on those. Those are really cool attractions coming up this month. It'll be the last week or two of October in both places. If you're anywhere in South Alabama or South Mississippi, you need to check these out. They are so cool. It's going to be a blast. And if you like that kind of thing, I mean, was it Trail of Terror is on Jason Voorhees? Come on, but highlighting him in theirs. And then Eerie Acres is doing, how'd they put it? Hauntings through the holidays or something like that. And they're getting these different haunted icons from the different holidays and just having a blast with it because I know they talked about Krampus, and
Yeah, I
I don't
read
know
that
if
one.
we. Wait a minute, let me go back and see if this is there. Um, because we did a. I don't know if I don't remember if I put the Krampus shirts on here yet. I don't think I have. Mm, 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 Nope. I need to put the Krampus shirts on here because I've got one that says Krampus was here, and it's got uh, like footprints coming across, and one side is human, and the other side is like a goat foot, and it says
Okay.
Krampus was here because they say he's got one human leg and one goat leg, and so I got those footprints going across the shirt and says Krampus was here. A lot
That's
of
cute.
fun. But
I like
we
that.
also did. We highlighted this last Friday. I'm sorry, Friday before last. Excuse me, was the 30th anniversary of the Amtrak Sunset Limited crash here at Big Bayou Cannot in, I think it's officially listed as Satsuma, Alabama, or Saraland. It's up in the Delta in the bayou up there. And so many lives were lost. And then we basically went over the wreck and what happened and the timelines and then normal things that have been connected with it since. And, like like Lynn said, my father-in-law, her dad, says he was fishing up in there one day, sometime after the wreck. He could hear voices coming from that area. When he got up to the bridge and touched the bridge to steady his boat, everything went quiet. So it was just kind of odd. And he said there are some fishermen that just won't even go in that area anymore.
Right.
And she mentioned in the show, but it didn't click for me. It didn't connect. But he took one young guy up in there one time, and it just shook him so bad that he won't go back. He's like, nope, nope, not going to. So an amazing story, and we had been talking about. I never really because of my life interfering. We were talking about trying to do a live show from Big Bayou Cannot. I mean, it would have been so huge because um, I mean a massive undertaking. One because I mean it's out in the middle of nowhere, you know,
Yeah.
and and we would have had to figure out some way to get Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff, and
You could use a
camera crews.
hotspot from a
Yeah,
phone.
right. But with everything else, I mean,
Yeah.
getting boats to go up in there, and you
True.
really want to use because I thought about it to this point. You wouldn't want to use a little fishing boat. You'd really want some kind of pontoon boat where
Yeah.
you can get more people on, but it's more stable, and
Mhm.
and I'm not good around boats anyway, uh,
Okay.
because especially the smaller boats. I've sunk several of them, so I don't do real good around boats. The bigger ones I'm probably okay on, but those smaller ones, I'd rather not. So, all right, today we're going back to something Selena and I did several weeks ago. It's probably been about a month ago now.
Yep.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Mhm.
But we return today with 10 creepy, spooky, and strange stories. Now, I found these. I came across this article that had like 13 stories, and they were all creepy and strange. And I'm like, oh, cool. This will work perfect. And it's BuzzFeed had an article called 13 Bone Chilling Tales of People Who've Encountered Cryptids and Mythological Creatures. Now, we're going to ask questions as to what it is or if it's something else. But let's go talk about the first one I did in the cold open real quick. And if you're watching or listening, leave us a comment on what you think it might be, because we're not going to come in here and say that's what it is. We're just going to make our suppositions and queries, questions. Oh, we have a comment already. Mr. Harmless is back. Thank you. Skinwalker, very possibly you're onto something there. Excuse me. Uh, because he said it had the face of a wolf, and you're right, sir. Skinwalkers have taken on that persona before. Isn't it the legend says that a skinwalker, if it hey, Mr. Harmless is Batman.
Yeah.
You're doing good. Thank you.
Batman.
I'm Batman. Yes. But whatever, if they can get the corpse or the skin of that animal or that person, they can become that. So you are correct, sir. But what do you think, Selena?
I
I
was
mean,
leaning
this
more
thing,
towards.
he sees it at the tree, and he shines a light on it, and it charges him and growls, but runs him over, leaves, and then leaves some weird footprints. What do you think?
I was leaning more towards Wendigo, but
Yeah,
it could be a skinwalker.
yeah. I mean, the thing about the tracks, I mean,
Yeah.
whoever this person was telling the story doesn't. We don't know their bona fides. You know, are they trails people or trailsmen, what they call them? You know, or woodsmen? We don't know, but he says they were distinctly not bear tracks. And bear tracks have kind of like that oval with the claws up top. And I'm no expert either, but he says it was not a bear. Are we sure they aren't on drugs? Well, there's a possibility too, man.
Yeah.
That's
That's
always a
true.
possibility in any of these.
Mhm.
So you're leaning to a Wendigo?
Yeah.
Hmm. I mean, that's where my brain went. That's why I threw it up there. But again, we've got to do a show on Wendigos because we need to do a deep dive into Wendigo. We've touched on it here and there, and the same with Skinwalkers. We've actually focused more on Skinwalkers than we have on Wendigos because Skinwalkers has come up in several shows. So we need to do a show on Wendigos. All right, Selena, you want to do story number one? Selena, you still with us? Or are you frozen?
I'm still here.
Okay. Do you want to do story number one?
I can.
Okay.
I think my computer froze for a moment or something. Okay. Story 1, Cynthia. I was night fishing on a lake with my back to a wooded area. I was in a chair with a small lantern beside me with a full moon. I heard a noise and turned to my right to see what was coming out of the woods. I'm thinking it was a raccoon or possum. I saw a humanoid that looked like it was running on all fours when its rump with its rump up in the air, running to the water. I froze and slowly pulled my Bowie knife out from inside beside my left leg and had it ready to use it if something came up near me. This thing was a beige color in the moonlight, naked and hairless. It was moving fast and went into the water with hardly any noise. It disappeared underwater and didn't come up for air or surface. I had no idea what it was, and since I was catching fish, I didn't leave until the sun came up 2 to 3 hours later. Bigfoot, animal, or something else.
Wow. And Mr. Harmon said that fishing sounds fun right now. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
But you know, most of the time people were going to go straight to Bigfoot, but this thing said Cynthia said it was naked and hairless.
Mhm.
So are we dealing with possibly a wild man? But
It
then it
possibly.
disappeared under the water and didn't come up for air, and they stayed there. You know, one thing I pick up from this is it wasn't as fearful, I guess you could say, or alarming enough for this person to leave. You know,
Yeah.
I guess they didn't feel threatened by it for some reason, and so and they said, they were. She was more concerned with. She says, I was catching fish, so I just stayed. you know, I'm not going to let this stop a good fish. you know, um, but here's the thing: it was naked and hairless,
Yeah.
was moving fast, and
All
went
on
into the
fours.
water with hardly any noise, that's weird.
It is. So it makes you think it had gills.
Yeah, I mean, are we talking some kind of water creature here? You know, I mean, because um, she said it disappeared underwater and didn't come up for air or surface. Now, granted, it could have swam and come up somewhere else where she couldn't see it.
True.
I get that, but she stayed there another 2 or 3 hours until the sun come up and never saw it again. So in her mind, it stayed under the water. But I'm kind of leaning to something else here.
I agree.
Yeah. And Mr. Harmless is maybe she's lying for attention. That's possible.
Yeah.
But I will say this in the article, it just gave her first name, so it's not, yeah, I'm not sure if those things are real. Yeah. I'm the only reason I would lean to something else is because I'm thinking, like a wild man of the forest, somebody
Mm-hmm.
that just lives out there and they didn't know somebody was, out there fishing and they went to take their nighttime bath or something. I don't know, but uh, where are you leaning, Selena?
Something else.
As in,
Something that's half human, half uh, aquatic creature. Because
mm,
it makes me think that it had to have gills for it to go underwater and not come back up, unless, like you said, it came up and she just didn't see it.
yeah. Well, what? Creature from the Black Lagoon?
It could.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Story number 2. Him. I was sitting on my front porch talking to my best friend. We were lost in conversation, and we both heard someone running through my house. We talked about whether the back door was locked or not because we were sitting right beside the front door and there were no side doors. We talked about whether it could have just been the floor shifting that made it sound like someone just ran through the house. So we went inside, but no one was inside the house. Later on, we were back on the front porch talking, and there was this thick black fog shadow thing that we both saw. It was like a large, weird shaped ball of just jet black color, like a shadow that light could not pass through. It stayed for a few minutes at the roof part of the porch and then disappeared. Neither of us know if we were simply tired and both imagined it or if it actually did happen, but we both saw it and could not see the roof or the porch around this shadow, and it never happened again. Ghost, cryptid, or something else? What do you think?
I'm not sure.
And this is an I don't know.
I don't think it was a ghost.
Mm-mm.
I'm leaning towards something else, but then defining what the something else is, I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, I have not heard of black orbs, you know, but that's what it sounds like they're describing because you couldn't see through it, light couldn't go through it,
Mm-mm.
a weird shaped ball of jet black color. I mean,
But
that's
if it was
just,
running through the house, it would have to have some type of legs to be able to do that.
and Mr. Harmon says angel of death. I don't
Well,
know.
yeah.
I mean, we talked about that. I remember in the last show that we did on this, where that black shadow figure appeared, and you were thinking along that lines.
Hmm.
And Mr. Harmless, you are correct. In the Bible, angels are not pretty. They are scary. They're weird. They're strange.
Oh, okay.
when we talked about it on our Angel show a couple of years ago, we showed some pictures, and they are. I mean, when artists took the exact description from the Bible, they are strange creatures, and but I don't know if the footsteps in this black orb, I guess you call it an orb, are connected. They may be. Um, and again, I think I could go to something else and say maybe a portal, vortex,
Yeah.
you know, and they couldn't see through it, and it was not transparent in the sense that they could not see the roof
Mhm.
or the porch around it. Where this was located on their porch, they couldn't see through it. It was just a jet black spot in their general vicinity. So I think we're heading toward something else here. Um, and it's the back to the footsteps again, you know.
Mhm.
Excuse me. I mean, footsteps in a paranormal setting intrigue me. Oh, Mr. Harmless, I had the exact same thought, but I didn't say it. You're right. Black hole.
Mhm.
But not a true black hole, because supposedly black holes are gravitational wells that suck everything in. But
Mhm.
you're on the right path there. I think that's what I was thinking. Some kind of a temporal black hole. I don't know.
Maybe it was an alien, and the black sphere was its ship.
It didn't say how big it was. Well, it was small enough to only cover part of the porch and the roof. Might have been a small alien,
Or
one of
maybe,
those
well,
one of those tiny
yeah.
aliens from Men in Black. The little about that
Oh,
tall.
those were cute.
So
They
yeah,
like cats.
yeah. You know what? This made me think. This is why we are not discounting any of these stories. Because these people shared their stories, and
Mhm.
we accept that at face value.
Yeah.
We may have our thoughts and our questions about it, but if that person says, I saw this or I experienced that, we want to accept that at face value. Because you can't tell me I didn't see what I saw, and I can't tell you that you didn't see what you saw.
Right.
you know? So, and that's what we're doing here. We're taking people's personal experiences, and we're not questioning them as an experiencer. We're questioning probably some assumptions, because especially in the last show we did on this, there were some that were immediately assumed to be ghosts. Remember the one about the security guard and the Indians walking through?
Yes, I remember that now.
I mean, he actually said, "Well, it was ghost," and I
Mhm.
don't necessarily see that. Now, I do not question his viability in his experience. He saw it. I believe him, but his what's the word I'm looking for? His conclusion on that was that it was ghost. Well, I'm thinking it could have more along the line been a in place or a vortex, you know, and that we're just looking through, into another time, another dimension. When you are right, Mr. Harmless, some people are crazy, and we usually end up as murderers. Um, hopefully and thankfully, it's a minute portion of the people that's out there, thankfully. But no, you don't. I mean, you as an individual and me as an individual, we have a right to believe or not believe what we hear. But in this show, we want to take people at face value and say, If you say you saw that, then we accept that. Now let's take that story and kind of break it down and see what we can figure out and learn from that. All right, Selena, story number 3.
Okay. Story 3, Christian. So when I was 9, we were staying with my aunt, and for only 2 nights. I was attacked by something, and I only ever saw it in the corner of my eye. I felt it crawl on me, scratch me, and latch onto me. But every time I tried to grab it or look at it, it would suddenly be on another part of me.
Ooh.
Yeah. I thought going to my aunt, dad, and uncle would make it stop, but it didn't. For the entirety of both those nights, not the day, I was attacked over and over and over. It never left a mark, but it hurt when it would scratch.
Wow.
Description of the entity or creature from the corner of my eye. It was about the size of an average adult woman's hand. It was light, tannish yellow, and looked to be skinned. It had knuckle-like joints on its 5 or 6 legs, and no face, mouth, or eyes, but it had a front for sure. The shape wasn't perfectly symmetrical. It never came back. My dad remembers the 2 nights and never saw a thing. Spider, cryptid, or something else.
Ooh. That's just creepy.
It is
That's
creepy.
I mean, trying to sleep and you feel something crawling on you.
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me. Uh-oh. He says it was the ring girl. Ooh, could be. I remember years and years ago when I was still living with my parents, we had people staying over, and so me and my cousin, a couple of guys, bunked down in the living room, and we're sleeping there, and sleeping bags and things like that, and I felt something crawl on me, like on my shoulder, and I just grabbed it, and I felt it in my hand when I grabbed it, and I just threw it, and I heard it go thump on the wall. I was like, oh my God, that was huge, whatever it was, some kind of bug got in there. And then I think I was still a teenager, just teenagers do. I just rolled over and went back to sleep. And the next morning I get over there and where I knew it hit the wall and I couldn't find anything there. My thought was, one of those big palmetto bugs that people call roaches. I was thinking, they fly into the houses from time to time. And that's what I think it was, because those things are huge, an inch to an inch and a half long. And they're pine, I think some people call them pine beetles. You got a lot of pine trees around your property, you'll probably have some of those around your house. And, they don't take up residence like roaches, which is, I guess they're kin to roaches. They sure look like giant roaches, but, but they don't stay. Okay. Mr. Harmless came up with a good one, a bat.
Maybe.
That sounds good. And maybe it was an albino bat because she said it was light tannish yellow. Kind of a yellowish tan is from what I'm picking up. It looked to be skinned. That's what's weird. And the joints on the legs. I mean, this thing is, yes, they are pretty small and they can fly. You're right. Yeah, this was creepy in that she said she could grab it. Well, every time she tried to grab it or look at it, it would suddenly be on another part of her. It just kind of gives you the creepy crawlies, doesn't it?
It does. It did not want to be seen.
And what you said about the average woman's hand, about that big, if it was a bat, and they are about that size, most of them.
Mm-hmm. They are.
Well, yeah, I mean, the majority of the bats are the small ones like that. I mean, you stretch out their wings and they probably go like that. But, I mean, if you're looking at them, they're kind of small. The body of it is probably about that wide, about that long. Like a flying rat, as some people have called them. I don't like bats, so I'm not a fan.
I like
I like Batman, but
I
I
like
don't like
bats too.
bats. But I mean, could this be a weird spider? I mean, there are spiders that get that big.
Yeah, there are.
Um, but another thing, it left no marks. So was she dreaming?
Yeah.
You know?
Possibly she could have been because it didn't leave a mark, like you
Yeah,
said.
it didn't leave a mark.
And usually creatures have eyes, but this one didn't. It didn't have
Hmm.
eyes, face, or mouth.
Yep. So
Just legs.
she may have been. I mean, she obviously experienced this, but who knows? She may have been dreaming. It may have been a weird spider. Um, Maybe it was a cryptid that we haven't even talked about yet. So who knows?
It's
Could have been a
possible.
bat. Maybe an albino bat. That's just
Maybe
that's just weird. I mean,
it is weird.
uh, mm, especially when you're 9 years old dealing with something like that.
Oh
Yow.
yeah.
Mm. Okay, story number 4. Soul. I encountered a brown yeti during a camping trip one summer in California. My friend and I were camping in Strawberry Pass with our dogs for 3 days. Late at night, we heard loud footsteps and a bellowing roar. We decided to douse the fire when the dogs growled. Sounds came from across the river, and we noticed the growling stopped. The next night, we lit a fire again, and the roars returned. The dogs went berserk, and my friend and I saw a huge brown creature about 7.5 feet tall. It leapt across the river and landed on a tree, swinging around the tree like it was a pole. It roared at us again and kicked at the fire, sending firewood and stone flying into the river. It punched the fire pit and picked up one large stone with its black hand and threw that into the river too. It then walked away out of sight. I thought this was funny. We changed our underwear, grabbed our chihuahua and wiener dog, packed up, and left. Now, I know that Yeti eyes are sensitive to fire and that their size doesn't count for their agility level. Move weightlessly regardless. So, were they dealing with a Bigfoot Yeti type creature, some other cryptid, or something else?
It sounds more like a Bigfoot to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've never heard of one reacting that way to fire.
Me neither. Or
Not
such
that they
tiny
can't.
dogs.
Yeah, the dogs were freaking out, but it actually on that second night came over and destroyed their fire, kicked it
Hmm.
all into the river. It's- okay, I got it. This is it. I mean, case closed. This was Smokey Bear. Smokey Bear done had enough and come flying into their camp and said, "No fires."
He wanted to prevent the forest fire.
That's right. Only you. Well, he had to take it into his own hands at that point and kick the fire
Hmm.
into the river.
It was in his
That's
hands.
that's got to be what it was. No, we're not making fun of Soul, whoever
Mm-mm.
Soul is, uh, because you experienced that. I mean, it had to get mighty close if it came
Yeah.
into their campsite and kicked their fire into the river. Wow. And then walked away. Mm. So, and they had to change their underwear.
Uh huh.
It's like it scared the you know what out of them, and they had to go. It's time to go. Wow. Whew. So, I mean, it's obvious that to me it's some kind of Bigfoot creature or Yeti. I mean,
I
we
think so.
usually think Yeti is a white albino, but then they have the Alabama white thing here. So I think they're all basically the same creature, just different regions. Because even in Alabama, just north of us, Selena,
Hmm.
they've had at least 2 sightings of a blonde Bigfoot.
Oh wow.
Yeah, right up in where 45 goes into Mississippi.
Oh
In that
okay. Yeah.
area, they've
It's
had
not too far from me.
no. And just right up the road, I mean, there's been two different reports that I know of where they saw a blonde cryptid, cryptid, blonde Bigfoot. All right, Selena, story number 5.
Okay, story 5, Susan. My grandma told me I can see what doesn't want to be seen. It was 8 years ago, and my mom had just moved into a new home in Bakersfield, California. When she moved, a few things, including a large rug, were left outside. So unfortunately, it was during the rainy season, so those items were all ruined. A few days after it stopped raining, my sister and I started cleaning up the backyard. We knew the rug was pretty heavy, especially since it was still wet. We both picked it up, and right under it, there was this creature. My sister and I panicked and screamed. So we startled the creature and made it panic and scream. We dropped the carpet on top of it, but we both saw it dive into the ground. We quickly lifted the rug, but the creature was gone. We never found a hole, but the best way to describe it was that it looked like a little water fairy from Oz. It was about 10 inches tall, orangey brown, big round eyes, big mouth, tail, no fur, and I don't remember, but don't think it had wings. Fairy, cryptid, or something else.
Mm, that's kind of freaky. Something
That
was hiding
was.
out under that rug, and when they lifted it up, it freaked out. When they freaked out. Okay. They said it was what, about 10 inches tall,
Hmm.
kind of an orangish brown, had big round eyes, a big mouth, tail, no fur, hmm,
No wings.
no wings. What do you think?
Um, I
Another
guess a
weird one.
cryptid. It kind of sounds like a fairy, but then there's no wings, so
Well, I mean, do the little people have to have wings? Some do.
maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember back to our fairy show. I think the water sprites had wings. The some of the earth fairies, I think, had wings, but leprechauns don't. Um,
Yeah.
you know, the like little house elves, they don't. So I don't know. I mean, this could have been a fairy. Most definitely one of the little people. I mean, we're talking California.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, the Indians, the Native Americans out there do believe in the little people. You know, um, but we don't get a concise description of the little people from Native American legend and lore, just that they're small. You know, um, but 10 inches tall. I mean, this could be. Um, they're not describing any clothes, but the weirdest thing, they saw it dive into the ground,
And no hole.
but there was no hole. Wow, that's freaky. So I'm leaning to an extra dimensional fairy type little person.
Okay,
That makes sense.
it does.
You know, I mean, because I personally think, and Elizabeth Parker has mentioned this on the show several times, there are other dimensions of the realms, and some of these fairy um, people live in those different dimensions that we can't see. So if it crossed over into this dimension, thinking it found a warm place, a wet, warm place under that blanket, and they freaked it out when it dove into the ground, it probably just went back to its dimension, home dimension or something. I don't know because we don't know these things.
Yeah.
You know, that's just a man. I wish they had drawn a picture of it. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, about 10 inches tall, which would be about like that.
Mhm.
Orangish brown, big round eyes, big mouth, tail. What a tail! No fur. Hmm. That's just, oh, that's a strange one. I mean, that's one thing I loved about this article. These aren't just your regular run of the mill cryptid stories, you know. These are some outlandish ones. And that's why I wanted to use these stories, because they're just way out there, you know. Like, what was this thing? You know? I mean, it doesn't say, I mean, no fur, but it did have a tail. Where was that? To me, it sounds like a chihuahua standing on its hind legs, but except for the fur, you know. It'd be a furless chihuahua, you know. I don't know, but that was a strange one. Okay, story number 6. This is just from a user. I used to work in landscaping. I was watering some trees in a remote area with a freeway nearby. I turned around and this huge black dog was staring at me. Like this thing was the size of a wolf. I also noticed I couldn't really see its face, like it was shrouded in a black mist. It looked at me for what felt like a minute, and then it turned around and disappeared into the forest. I ran over to see where it was going, and it wasn't there. I couldn't see any tracks or paw prints, and I didn't hear any leaves rustling. And it was the middle of the day, too. I remember I didn't feel scared. I felt more comfortable with the creature standing there, and then I felt alone. Definitely a weird day. So is this a cryptid? A demon? We've heard demons described as dogs before. Or something else. What do you think?
Something else. I don't think it's a demon because he didn't feel any fear.
Right.
And usually with demons, you can see red eyes, but not always, but usually. I don't think it was a hellhound because, again, no fear.
No fear. I mean, he actually felt comfortable. And then when it left, he felt alone.
Maybe it was just like a spirit of the forest.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Because then he didn't see any tracks, no paw prints.
So it's like it was like it just wanted him to see it.
Right.
And then once they made eye contact, then it went on its own way. And but it was like he was only there for that man.
True. Yeah. Because it sounds like that it just, I mean, since we get the sense that he was alone working there, and then the dog showed up. Maybe he was feeling lonely, you know, like I'm stuck out here by myself, and then the dog shows up, and he's like, "Oh, cool," you know. But then when he left, he felt alone again. You know, maybe that's what we're picking up here. You know, the wolf thing, and he couldn't see his face.
Right.
He said it was the size of a wolf, which they can get pretty big sometimes, but he couldn't see its face.
Yeah, it was black mist.
That's weird. So maybe, maybe, I mean, I like where you're going with the spirit of the forest there, kind of thing. We touched on that in another show. What was it? Oh, oh crap, the one where the guy was lost in the forest and couldn't find his way out, and then he heard the voice. Yeah, that was the third man syndrome. The show we did on the third man syndrome, and he heard the voice says, "Sit down, shut up," you know, and he sat down and waited. And when he did that, he heard highway sounds and was able to get to the highway and find his way in the forest. And he thought it was the spirit of the forest helping him out, you know. So this one could be that, you know, and because like I said, you know, you mentioned it, the hellhounds, the demon dogs, we mostly get senses of evil from those, or the red eyes and that kind of thing. But he didn't get that in this situation. He got a comforting type of sensation. You know, he said he
Yeah.
felt comfortable with the creature standing there, which I think is cool. You know, because we've talked about this on the show before, where usually we see something that's out of our realm of experience and it freaks us out, and we sense fear and we sense trepidation, and we I believe we sometimes we translate that as evil intent on the part of that entity that we see, when it's probably just us feeling out of sorts. I could be totally wrong on that, but just because somebody says that thing is evil, like the mantis man, we talked about
Hmm.
that. Some people said they felt evil emanating from it, and some people said, they felt fine around it, no fear, no nothing. So who knows? So I think you're onto something there. We're talking about the spirit of the forest. All right, story number 7.
Okay, story 7 by user. Walking through the woods for fun, I walked through a field where there were tiny fluorescent jellyfish-like things floating through the air, maybe half an inch to 2 inches in size. I initially thought it was some kind of plant spore or something moving in the wind, but when I looked at them closer, they were actually moving independently. That was in about 2006. I spent months going through those woods and that field over and over again with a camera trying to find them, but I've never seen them since. Plants, cryptid, or something else.
Hmm. Right off the bat, my sense is not paranormal. I'm thinking more like fireflies, lightning bugs. But I mean, fireflies are actually kind of small. Have you ever caught them?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, they're little bitty. And you catch them
Tiny.
when you can catch them. And you
Hmm.
put them in a jar, and you get all these lightning bugs in a jar. Um, but what this person described to me seems bigger than lightning bugs,
Hmm.
fireflies. So, I mean, but she says there were tiny fluorescent jellyfish-like things floating through the air. Now, I mean, personally, like I said, I kind of lean towards something natural, and but I could be off base here, because have you ever seen pictures in the ocean where the little jellyfish have
Hmm.
spawned, and they're little bitty and they float around like that in the ocean, and some of them are fluorescent. But I haven't ever heard of anything like that on land.
Me neither.
You know, um, it it could be. Now, again, going back to something Mr. Harmless said a while ago, I mean, again, we want to accept this person at face value, but
Hmm.
this could be. I mean, if anybody's ever been hit on the back of the head, you see things similar to this.
Yeah, stars.
Yeah, you see those little stars,
Hmm.
and it could be something like that. It could be drug induced. It could be anything, but again, it could be fairies.
It could.
Remember Andrea's story about going to the creek and taking John back there, and they saw the little like lightning bug things flying around,
Uh huh.
and one of them followed him home. So, now that I think about it, I'm kind of leaning more toward fairies. And
Yeah,
they
that does.
um, especially that they've never seen them since.
Yeah.
If she had if she had said, or she or he, I'm not sure what this is, who this is. Um, if they said that they came to, several years later, then we'd say, "Yep, that was fairies." But But this is probably what they were dealing with. What do you think?
I'm leaning towards fairies as well, especially if they're that color and floating and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And 1/2 inch to 2 inches in size.
Yeah, tiny.
Yeah, and well, I mean, they even said it. They thought it was like plant spores. Have you ever seen dandelions
Mhm.
blowing in the wind? But those are
Yeah.
really small. Those are really tiny, and that's what it reminded her of. And then she says, I keep wanting to say a she. I don't know why. This person uh, says they were actually moving independently. So, with all that going on, yeah, I'm leaning to fairies.
Me too.
Okay. All right. Story number 8. Just from another user. In 2003, I saw what looked like an orangutan hybrid, lemur hybrid watching me from the trees. When it realized I was looking at it, it took off into the trees and disappeared. Now, this was in western North Carolina, and nothing like that should have been around here. For a few years, I looked for articles about someone's escaped exotic pet, but never found anything. Eventually, I just wrote it off. Years later, I heard a lore episode about the Pukwudgie, and I immediately got chills because the description matched what I saw. I'm still not sure what happened. A few months ago, I was dumb enough to wander into the same patch of woods. I got nailed by a rock, and when I looked up again, I saw a small outline ducking around like it was watching for my reaction. Again, when it recognized I was looking at it, it took off. I don't know what happened, but I also don't really plan on going back. So, was that a Pukwudgie? Just some cryptid or something else? Hmm. Now, according to the descriptions from our Pukwudgie show, this very well could be a Pukwudgie,
That's what I was thinking.
especially the color of it. They said it was an orangutan lemur. Yeah, I keep saying it wrong. Lemur,
Lemur.
uh, like it was a hybrid of some type.
Mhm.
But that coloring, like we were showing Dagny's Pukwudgie a while ago, she kind of gave it that same coloring, and the fact that he threw a rock at him the second time he visited, you know, um, and that reminds me of the story we told on the Pukwudgie. It may have been the Bridgewater Triangle show as well, where the man was walking his dog and saw one of these Pukwudgies, what he thought was a Pukwudgie, step out from the shadows and was motioning to him and saying, "We want you." And the way Tim described it, there was a native language in that area that it sounds like he was saying, uh, "We need your help. Come with us." And so he turned tail and ran. Him and his dog took off out of there. And our supposition was that thing really asking for help, or was it trying to coerce him to be captured? I don't know.
Mhm.
You never know. But that's similar to what this sounds like. When it realized it was being watched, it was watching this person, and then that person turned and saw it, and it ran. So you're thinking Pukwudgie?
Pukwudgie.
Yeah. Yeah. Pukwudgie are little person. I mean, Native American lore with the little people.
Mhm.
Because it doesn't say where this was at, but the actual term Pukwudgie is only used in the Northeast around the Bridgewater Triangle area. And which, in my opinion, if it's a little person, they can be anywhere.
Right.
They're not stuck in the Bridgewater Triangle of Massachusetts. So, in my opinion, Pukwudgies can be anywhere, So, yeah, that one's probably a Pukwudgie.
I think so.
Probably a Pukwudgie. All right. Number 9.
Okay. Story 9 by user. One night I was driving home about 2 a.m., and this tiny, tiny white creature, probably as tall as a Pringles can, though maybe a bit smaller, walked across the road in front of my car. I couldn't believe what I saw, so I called my then boyfriend and frantically described the creature. He told me that it sounded like a Fresno Nightcrawler, and when I got home and looked it up, that is exactly what it looked like.
Wow.
I had never heard about them before. I do not live in California, not even close. I still have no clue what it was. Some more details about what I saw because I hadn't thought about it in a while, but now it's coming back to me. The bottoms of its legs ended in what looked like flowy bits of ribbon, and it was almost translucent.
Wow.
I could almost see the road through the creature. It walked at a kind of a jaunty pace, like a person might walk. The best way to describe it is like that super steppy walk that the dwarves sometimes do in Snow White or Mickey Mouse does sometimes. I slowed my car down, but was afraid to stop it completely, and the thing disappeared as my car went through it. Honestly, it was so
Oops, I
eff-
forgot to edit that part out.
it was so effing cute that I wasn't even scared, but I was shaken up by having seen something like this. Nightcrawler, ghost, or something else. I edited it for you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
There was a couple of those in the article, and I thought I had caught them all, but I missed that one.
It's okay.
Yeah, you've seen the Nightcrawler. To me, it looks like a little puppet with just a head and legs.
Uh-huh.
It's walking around. But this woman takes it a bit further. That the bottoms of its legs,
Look like ribbon.
just like ribbon flowing in the breeze, and then was almost translucent, like she could just about see through it. So it was basically floating. But then when her car basically hit it, it
Just went
disappeared
through it.
and just went through it. Yeah. Oh boy, that's yeah. You've seen the Nightcrawler video, right?
I think yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's so weird and out there. My first thought seeing it was a hoax. Because it just looks fake. It didn't. Not that I'm um, any expert by any means on you know um, breaking down videos and seeing what's been added and that kind of thing. I'm not,
Hmm.
but other people have claimed to see this, and the only I would almost go with Tulpa, but this woman had never heard of it, so she's describing something that she's never even seen or heard of. So we can I don't think I can go down the Tulpa route
Hmm.
because a Tulpa, is a thought being when a group of people focus on one being, that it can come to life in a sense. I think that's purely theoretical, whether it's actually happened or not. Supposedly it's happened with Slender Man, that, so many people got to focusing on Slender Man that actual sightings begin to happen. So I don't know. But if the Fresno Nightcrawler is a real entity, then this could very well have been a Nightcrawler. Other than that, I'm not going to say a ghost.
No.
I mean, well, you probably. I mean, because what are ghosts shaped like? We assume that they're shaped like their body, but are they really?
That's true.
I mean, sometimes we see a white mist, sometimes we see a dark shadow. Um, Sometimes we see a full-bodied apparition, and the general consensus is that that's like different stages of a ghost appearing. That sometimes we just see a mist, and then the full apparition is then when they've got enough power to fully manifest. But what if that's not true? You know,
Hmm.
um, because what do spirits, or what are they shaped like? Are they shaped like the bodies they were in? We don't. I mean, how many have ever actually truly seen what you know as a spirit? I mean, most of the time, I mean, think about how rare full-bodied apparitions are.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
I mean, what do people see most of the time? A mist or a shadow, a small white cloud or whatever, So who knows? This could have been a ghost or a spirit. But she says, again, I'm assuming I shouldn't do that. Uh, this person, this user, says that when they saw the picture of the Fresno Nightcrawler, that's exactly what they saw. Now, again, I mean, I'm going to go with the experiencer here and say, okay, a Nightcrawler, but I really would like to do a deep dive sometime on this Nightcrawler. Is it really?
Me too.
Because there's, from what I know, there's only been a couple of sightings, and like I said, the first one to me looks fake. That's just me. I mean, it looks like puppets to me, but I could be wrong. I see it and I'm like, yeah, okay. It's supposed to be some kind of, I don't remember if it wasn't a doorbell cam because it was like out in the woods somehow. Maybe
A deer
maybe a,
cam.
yeah, could be a trail cam or something, you know. So, what do you think? I kind of took over on that one.
I was leaning more towards Nightcrawler.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, that user, when they saw a picture of it, they said, that's what I saw, you know. But again, I really want to kind of do a deep dive on night crawlers, these Fresno night crawlers, and see what's out there. I mean, if there's only one or two stories, it kind of makes me go, well, I don't know. But if we can dig up 10 or 15 stories, we could at least do a show,
Oh yeah.
so we'll, I'll have to check into that. Okay, story number 10. Isn't this fun? I love doing this.
Oh yeah. Me too.
I mean, I enjoy doing it with you. But it'd be kind of cool if there were 4 or 5 more of the ETs here, and we could really get some discussion going. And we would
Yeah.
probably be 2 or 3 hours in a
Probably.
marathon show. Okay, story number 10. About 18 years ago, my wife and I were looking out at Brickell Bay in Miami, Florida, when we saw a humanoid-looking creature wearing what looked like a black, rubbery environmental suit, just effortlessly gliding through the waist-deep water. I shouted, "Do you see it there?" pointing it out so my wife would see it about 50 feet in front of us on a bright, sunny afternoon. It looked at us and then started submerging as it quickly headed for the bank. It went under the bank and out of view. It looked like it was wearing all black futuristic high-tech equipment, and the really strange part was the bay was over 10 feet deep at that bank. Oh, and it was only waist deep. Somehow, it could glide through the water with its upper body above the surface. Afterwards, we were both in shock and our hearts were beating out of our chest. It had big black eyes and a small nose and mouth. We called it the creature from the Black Lagoon. So, are we talking about a sea cryptid? Maybe some new military technology? Or something else? Hmm.
I'm leaning towards military technology.
Well, I mean, they were, 50 feet in front of them. They saw eyes and a nose
Hmm.
and a mouth. And it was completely black. Hmm. Yeah, I might lean to military technology because that's in our Mantis Man episode. We kind of talked about that. Could that be what we're seeing? Or could this be a Mantis Man? I mean, they didn't see the orange glow, so I don't know.
Yeah. Especially if it's wearing a black rubbery environmental suit.
All right, they said it looked like that. Was it
Look.
really that?
Mm,
They're saying it looked like a black rubbery environmental suit. Now, they described it as the creature from the Black Lagoon. We talked about that earlier in one of the first stories, you
mm-hmm.
know, that, and the unique thing, I mean, they're saying that where they saw it, it's at least 10 feet deep. But this thing was out of the water down to to its waist, but it was gliding through the water. So if it was military technology, were they standing on something? But then it went down under the water in toward the bank. So, I mean, here's something else. Are we talking USO? Maybe in, underwater alien base. You know,
Yeah, I can see
this
that.
thing went under the water. So we could be talking extraterrestrial. Now, did it see him? Trying to see if it looked at him. Doesn't sound like that it saw him. It went under the bank and out of view. It looked like it was wearing all black, futuristic, high tech equipment, and the really strange part was the baby was over 10 feet deep. So either it had extremely long legs, or somehow it was like hovering about waist deep in 10 feet water and gliding through the water. Now that's just weird. Yeah, it could glide through the water with its upper body above the surface. Again, that's assuming that it is, built like an average bipedal hominid, a person, a being. 2 arms and 2 legs, and, like
Mm-hmm.
that Da Vinci diagram with the circle and the hands, the arms
Yeah.
and the legs spread, would fit in that, but maybe it doesn't. Who knows? But, even with all the possibilities, I'm thinking, like you said, military technology, something is being tested down there. That made me think. A few years back, I was working at an auto parts store and had stepped outside for a smoke break. And where that store was located was close to Brooklyn Field. Well, you know where Brooklyn Field is.
Mm-hmm.
But for those of you who don't know, in downtown, just south of downtown Mobile, is a huge airfield. Um, it's not been the primary uh, airport for this area for a long time, but they're trying to open it back up to commercial flights.
Right.
Well, anyway, the store I was at was located within a mile of Brooklyn Field. And I was sitting up there and I heard something sounded like a lawnmower. Just bzzz, I look up and there's this little black, it looked like a World War II prop fighter before they introduced the jets.
Mm-hmm.
Just single wing, little cockpit bubble, just, just flying real slow. Sounded like a little lawnmower coming over. Just, bzzz, and I look up, and this thing is completely jet black. And I'm talking flat black. It doesn't hardly reflect any light.
Oh wow.
And there was no markings on it anywhere. There's usually on the fuselage or the tail or under the wings.
Mm-hmm.
It was nothing. It was just completely jet black. And I thought it was just kind of odd because you would think if there were some kind of government prototype, or government spy plane, it would be a fast one. you know. But this little thing's just buzzing across the sky. And I sat there and watched it. It probably took 5 minutes for it to go across the sky there over us. And I'm just like, what is this? I'm like, that is just so off, diametrically opposed to what you would think any, the black helicopters, no markings, no identifiers, and they're just zipping around the sky and they're all fast and everything. But this little thing's just buzzing right on across the sky, real slow. I'm like, what purpose does this serve? Because it was loud, you could hear it,
Uh-huh.
but no markings and jet black, just totally black. It was just odd. That's what the black suit in this kind of makes me think of that. Maybe they were just, I don't know, just decided to take an old spy plane out for a buzz around the skies. I don't know. So,
Maybe.
yeah. Yeah, as weird as that was, 50 feet in front of them, they see this black-clad being. I mean, they said it had big black eyes, so they're not even sure that it had on like a mask or snorkel, because they said they saw a nose and a mouth.
Right.
And they are 50 feet away, but could that be some kind of new technology, extraterrestrial, or some kind of new sea cryptid that we don't know about? Merman. Could
Yeah. Merman. Could be a merman.
could be, because supposedly they can do that. I mean, Aquaman can do that, can he?
Yeah.
Go through the water up waist high and still get around because he's got those fins on the back of his calves,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Or yeah, something like that. Excuse me. So, all right, 10 more weird stories. Wow, those were strange.
Those were.
I mean, some of them, you know, we couldn't really come up with anything definitive. You know, um, God, going back through them, I'm like, geez, some of these were so freaking weird. But leave us comments. If you're watching, if you're listening, leave us comments on what you think about each of these stories and what you think it might be, and if we might be off base on something, or maybe there's something we haven't even thought of, and it could be going under the something else file. So, Selena, thank you so much for showing up and being a part of today's show. It was awesome
Thank
as
you.
usual. You were
Thank
great.
you. Thank you. I had a
I
great time.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, watchers, for watching, and we will see you next time. So stay safe on your strange journeys. See you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.